I've got an opportunity to talk with Magnus Sheffield, who is a bike rider with Ineos Grenadiers, and he's sitting in front of me. And we met about 3 minutes ago. And to be frank, given that the pandemic's influenced my travel, I haven't had an opportunity to see you race in person yet. But that begins tomorrow with a time trial at the Tour Down Under. Let's start with some basics. Where are you from? How did you come to cycling? And can you just give us a little overview of how all of a sudden you find yourself on the biggest team in the world?
Yeah, I'm from Pittsford, New York. It's a small town in upstate. It's not the most warm place or most common place for a cyclist to grow up in, but I grew up as a ski racer. And then I played lots of sports growing up, soccer or football, as they say here, and tennis. I swam, but mostly ski raced growing up. And then, I began mountain biking when I was, I think, 11 or 12. And it was just something I did with my family. And then I started getting to cyclocross, and then I started racing in Europe. And then I got really interested in racing road cycling. And then, I was able to race as a junior with the national team. So I raced quite a bit in Belgium and in Holland. And then I did some racing as an under 23 before turning professional with Ineos. Yeah, so I grew up watching the tour on the TV, but it wasn't something I really followed too closely. But I skied from the time I could walk. So I was around like 2, I'd say. And then I started racing when I was around 7 or 8 years old. And then I did this until I was 15, was my last season on the snow.
Uh-huh.
And then, I started mountain biking, I think, also around like 11 or 12, just after I started ski racing. And it was something I really just enjoyed in the summertime doing with my friends and family. And then, there was a pretty big cyclocross race where I grew up. And then I had some friends that had told me about it. And then, it kind of snowballed from there. And then, once I kind of got into the cyclocross scene, I really wanted to start road racing because of the tour and the influence it had at the time.
Who was winning the tour when at that time? If I can try and just put
Yeah,
it into context.
no, I think that was probably Brad. Had just won the tour.
Okay.
And then also, like, the memories I've had watching are also Froome and also Egon's win. Are the kind of the most vivid ones. And then even I remember Nibley when he had the big upset when he took the yellow. But it was mostly these guys that I grew up watching and cheering on the TV.
I guess as an American, it's kind of helpful that you started in 2012, and you missed all of the things that happened in the early 2000s. Or would you say that or not? Did that become prevalent in your sort of early appraisal of what pro cycling could have been?
Yeah, I mean, when I got into cycling, I was also really interested in the history of it and also the influence American cycling had. One of the first books I read was Froome's book, The Climb, and I was super interested in how he came into cycling, and I'd say that had a big influence on kind of my interest in the sport. But American cycling is it's kind of it's taken its hit. But I'd say it's definitely coming back to what it was before, and I think it's really exciting what the future years have to hold for American fans.
It feels like there's a blank canvas sort of from American cycling, like in the sense that I think a lot of people have come to the bike through the pandemic. They've understood power because they've been on a home trainer, they get to do Zwift, all of these things that weren't part of a newbie's cycling experience, let's say even 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Did you sort of come into it as a numbers man, and is that what sort of allowed you to progress so quickly to the national team?
I would say no, because I just grew up mountain biking, or I had a bike from a very young age. But I do think that one of the best investments, my family or we made was I had a power meter from a very young age. But that being said, I don't think I got too caught up in the numbers early on. But I do think it did help me kind of reach or go through the levels quite quickly. And I do think it is important. But I do think, like you see in the past couple of years now, or even with the pandemic, like the influence Zwift has, I think it's great because it opens a lot of new opportunities for kids that wouldn't necessarily have come into the sport now. But also, it's really difficult to have these kind of development paths for kids. So I think I yeah, power meters and Swift. I think it's all great. Um, it's more just about getting people out on bikes, and like you said, like you've seen the past couple of years in the pandemic, it's really become exponential the amount of people riding. And I think it's really great to see.
Now that you're on the team with Geraint Thomas and the like, guys who have won the Tour de France, does it freak you out? Does it inspire you? Are you nervous when you're riding with them? What's the vibe for you?
Yeah, I mean, so like these are guys that I grew up watching, and they're like heroes to me. So it does feel like a bit strange, like when I'm talking to my friends back home. That yeah, now these guys are my colleagues and teammates. Like I'm joking around that yeah, we're playing ping pong or we're going out and having dinner or getting ice cream after the race or whatever it is. Because yeah, these are guys that I grew up kind of idolizing. But it's really cool. I think when I really kind of felt it, or just how special it was in Tour of Denmark when I had the leader jersey, and I had guys like Kwiato, Egon, G, all riding in front of me, and these are all like Tour de France champions, guys that have had leaders jerseys in some of the biggest races, world champions. Like it doesn't really get much more special than that, especially my first year in the team and first year professional. And I don't think I really appreciated it for what it was like at the time, but it's more something I can look back and yeah, with a smile.
I met Egan here in this hotel. His first race with Team Sky. He just turned 21 a couple of days after we spoke, and he was just charming, charismatic, honest, frank, open. It's devastating to see what happened to him, but he's coming back. I wonder if you've had any contact with him and you've been able to stay in touch and understand how he's coming through the ranks and just sort of what influence his struggles have had on you. Are you more cautious because of that accident that he had?
I think, yeah, Aegon's a super good teammate. Yeah, I got to spend quite a bit of time with him when he had it, yeah, during his comeback, when he came to Andorra for an altitude camp.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the first race back was Tour Denmark, so that was also really special to be there with him then. Yeah, I think Aegon's he's an incredible human and an incredible teammate, and the amount of fortitude that he's been able to show in his comeback. I haven't seen anything like this. He unfortunately nearly lost his life, and it's incredible that he's just able to, yeah, continue with his career. And I think the level that he comes back at, yeah, we still have to see. But I think it's exceptional what he's been able to show so far, and I think, yeah, the future is looking really good for Aegon. But I think it definitely gives us all a bit of kind of realization of the consequences of cycling, and I don't think it's necessarily something that should be negative, but I think we should just have an appreciation for just, yeah, taking on every day as it is, and trying to, yeah, live it to its fullest.
For someone like him who's like, let's say, when he did the winning move in the Giro, it's just animal. It was just phenomenal. Like he could just light up a bike race, but he has a beautiful sense of calm.
Mm.
How does he present when you're dealing with him, and does that sort of wash over you, and does it, you seem to have a very calm demeanour as well? Is it part of the team environment that helps that?
Yeah, I think Aegon, the way he races, he's very charismatic. He's very emotional, but also at the same time, he's very calm. Like in the bunch when it's really stressful, he's able to focus and not get overwhelmed. And I think he's a great role model in that sense. And I think the amount of confidence he has, like on the bike, it's able to carry over to the rest of the team, and it kind of has a sense of calmness. Or I feel really confident racing with him, especially when I had the leader jersey and he was taking me through really hectic corners. So I think it's something that the team values, and I think it's really important just to be successful.
We spoke very, very briefly before doing this interview, and I asked if you could have been even considered as a shortlister for the Tour de France. Can you talk to me a little bit about what discussions have taken place with regard to the program for 2023?
Yeah, so I'm really excited that I get to start the season to kick it off in Tour Down Under tomorrow, and then I think it'll be a really good build to the season, especially with the prologue and also what the parkour looks like later this week. I think it's really well suited for the team we have here. So I think it's also special that Luke, he's obviously Aussie champ, so it's really cool for the fans to see the jersey and also for the team. And so it feels a bit like a home race for the entire team in that sense. But I also think, it'll be a really good build for the season for the classics, so that I'll have a bit of a break after this with the travel back to Europe. And then, I just want to build on the momentum I had last year in the classics. I'd love to be able to try to get another win in one of the early season races, and then be able to carry that momentum for the second half again. Whether that's the Tour or the Vuelta. A big goal of mine is to be able to ride a Grand Tour next year, or this year. But it's in any team this is really competitive. I could be considered for the Tour team, but it's really just about it's big up on my objectives, and it's really something I want to do. But it really depends on if it's the right time and the right moment, because it is still quite early in my career. So it's something that I'd really like to do, and I'm not gonna. If it doesn't happen this season, I know I have plenty of years ahead of me, so it's not something that I'd lose my hopes over. My hopes over.
Yeah. When you do that early in a career and in the way that you did it, which was pretty emphatic, I would say, for a young man to do that in a race like that, it almost pigeonholes you. That you almost become the classics guy. So that's why I wasn't certain if you'd be TDF listed or not. So do you get the feeling that you're being categorized because of that early win earlier in your career?
I wouldn't say so. I think cycling has become, you see a lot of traditions that are getting broken. So I think there's no more of just like the standard rider where you're just a classics rider or just a Grand Tour contender. I think you see a lot more riders doing various programs, and it's something that I'm really interested in. So I wouldn't say that I'm just going to aim for the classics, but it's really something that I want to prioritize and focus, but it's not it's not the only thing I'll focus on.
I know it's only January, but I can make an assessment of bike riders. I've been looking at their body shape changes over the years and knowing how things progress through the season. But you look really quite healthy for a pro cyclist, and by the sense that you don't look, sinewy and vacuum packed, as happens later in the season. Does your body shape change a lot as the year progresses on the bike?
I think it's something where every rider is different. I'm also still quite early in my career, so I think you see the body shapes of riders change and develop. But I think right now I'm quite healthy and I'm really happy with where I'm at. So I hope to continue just to stay on it for the rest of the season.
Darren and I have done quite a few interviews over the years, and one of the themes he keeps reverting back to is food. He likes to have a burger, he likes to eat pizza, and he likes to have a beer, but he's also aware of his weight. And that got us talking about eating disorders and the like. Is there talk in your age group, in the pro ranks, about the weight situation for pro bike riding?
I think there's a lot more knowledge and a lot more support that riders are getting now. That there's a lot more knowledge, especially early on with riders. I think there's no coincidence that younger riders are turning professional. But I think it comes down to that there's a lot more support for riders than there was, I would say, 10 years ago. So I think in regard to the body shape, I think there's no one way of racing, or there's no one body shape that's going to win a race. So I think each person is different, and they have to kind of explore and go on a journey with that. I think, cycling is still a power to weight sport, and it is quite unique compared to other sports with the demands we go through. But I think that you see a lot more knowledge, or you see riders that have a lot more knowledge, and they're able to be a lot more, they're able to make a lot better choices than I think they were able to, let's say, 10 years ago.
It's a really nice answer. It's good to sort of see this level of maturity coming in and not the sort of desperation to sacrifice something that perhaps shouldn't be sacrificed. We're getting the wind up. I didn't want to keep you for a long time, but it's nice to get a little bit of insight. And I just wonder if we can conclude with a little overview of the American scene and if you believe it can be reignited to the point where people, I mean, it's clear that cycling is popular in the States, but maybe not racing per se. But could you give a quick summary of how you see it developing in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I think so. During COVID, there's a lot of people that weren't necessarily interested, or they hadn't quite, there were a lot more people that started cycling. I think it's absolutely great. They're not so much interested in the competitive side of it. And I think that's partly due to the lack of Tour of California, Colorado, Utah, and the races that used to happen in the States. But that being said, I think that, there is a possibility that these races could come back, and I think that could be great for the American scene, for these people that are already interested in cycling for leisurely reasons, for them to be interested in the competitive side as well. I think, you see the Americans that are competitive at the highest level of racing, but over the past couple of years, it's shifted more towards the gravel scene, and I don't think that's a bad thing, but it's just it's taken away from the road side, and I think, the coming years, I'd be really excited if there were some of these American races that started. You saw there was a race in Maryland, and I think this sparked a lot of interest amongst the fans, but I think there's going to be, there's a need or a space for a big sponsor or company to come in that's necessary for this to happen. But I definitely think that, the American scene is ready for the racing to come back.
And maybe it'll be Magnus Sheffield who sort of leads that new generation. Does that feel like that to you?
That'd be great. But I also think there's a lot of other Americans that are doing quite well.
Well, thanks heaps for having a chat, and I look forward to following your career with interest, and I wish you all the best for the season. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers, man.